Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Petty Officer Benjamin Hale. We warmly welcome the family of Private Alexander Stevensen Amery, whose story will be told shortly. We're honoured to acknowledge Brigadier General Bundwang Phansote, Director General, Foreign Affairs Relations Department, Ministry of National Defence of Laos, and his accompanying delegation. We also warmly welcome the Australian Army Indigenous Youth Forum 2023 and the delegation from the Australian Naval College, Creswell. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching a broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of Lloyd Street Primary School, Malvern East, Victoria. Australia's Federation Guard is the tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catafalque party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Catapult party, attention!
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here, we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Alexander Stevensen Amery. Alexander Amery was born in 1893 in Bowyer, Victoria. Known as Alex, he was one of 11 children born to Joseph and Eliza Amery. He grew up on the family farm Homewood, near Wangaratta, where he enjoyed horse riding with his siblings. He received his education at Bowyer Primary School and later became a farmer, working on the family property. Alex Amery enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 25th of February 1916 with his friend Arthur Kelly. His mother tried to persuade him not to enlist, but as he was 23 years old, the decision was his. He commenced training at Broadmeadows after enlisting and was later assigned to the 22nd Battalion. He embarked from Melbourne on board the troop ship Argyllshire in early July 1916. After a long voyage, Private Amery arrived in England in September 1916. There, he continued training with his unit before embarking for active service at the front in November. He joined his unit later that month in Belgium, but was there only briefly before his battalion returned to France in time for the bitterly cold winter of 1916 and 1917. It was during this time that his father, Joseph, died at their family home. Private Amery's first major action of the war took place near the ruins of the French village of Bullecourt. An attack on the Hindenburg line at the village the month before had led to carnage. Under heavy machine gun fire and artillery, and without the expected support of tanks, Australian units took over 3,000 casualties in one day. Private Amery was to take part in the second attempt to break the line at Bullecourt in May 1917. Under the cover of an artillery barrage, the battle began at 3:45 a.m. on the 3rd of May. Amery's battalion moved off from its position, headed towards the enemy's trenches. Minutes later, the enemy opened its own artillery barrage on the advancing troops, causing multiple casualties and forcing them back. Private Amery jumped into a shell hole with some of his comrades to take cover. That was the last time he was seen alive. He was later recorded as missing, presumed dead. Having learnt the news about her son, Eliza was admitted to the Royal Park Receiving House for psychiatric disorders in a distressed mental state. Inquiries were made with the Red Cross and base records in Melbourne. One of Amery's comrades, who had taken cover with him in the shell hole, wrote a letter to Alex's mother. "We stuck together all the way through, and when we came out, the shells seemed to be dropping everywhere, but where we were. We may hear some news of Alex yet, as some of the lads have turned up a few days after. I will let you know if I hear any news from him." Inquiries through the Red Cross provided little certainty of his fate. One of his comrades said, "I only knew him to have been badly wounded near the German line. Whether he died or was grabbed by the Germans, I can't say. This was the morning of the 3rd of May, 1917. In the absence of further information, a court of inquiry held on the 26th of November, 1917, determined that Private Alex Amery had been killed in action on the first day of the attack at Bullecourt. The following year, his mother, Eliza, died. Today, Alexander Amery's body was never recovered from the battlefield. And today he is commemorated on the Australian National Memorial at Villas Brentano among more than 10,000 others who have no known grave. He was 24 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Alexander Stevensen Amery, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the last post, the sounding of the oath.
Catapult party, shoulder, arms.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Catapult party, present, arms. Catapult party, shoulder, arms.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Catapult party, in words, turn. Catapult party, quick, march.
we leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.